In 2015, something happened in Beijing that looked almost unreal. A major bridge at one of the city's busiest traffic nodes was shut down, cut apart, removed, and replaced. Not in months, not in weeks, but in just 43 hours. This was Sanyuan Bridge, a structure carrying roughly 206,000 vehicles a day, with a replacement girder moved into place as one massive prefabricated section weighing more than 1,300 tons. The installation demanded precision measured in millimeters. Now put that image next to Boston, because in the United States, one of the most famous infrastructure projects in modern history, the Big Dig, took construction from 1991 to 2007, while the broader project from conception through planning, design, and construction stretched from 1982 to 2007.
Rarely is a public works project built anymore without a huge price tag. But we've come upon a road that may be breaking all the records. It's costing more than $1 billion a mile. And if you think that's ridiculous or outrageous, consider this. 1/3 of the cost has little or nothing to do with building the road. What we're talking about is what they call the Big Dig, the most expensive road ever built. It's a 7.5-mile, $10 billion stretch of highway in downtown Boston. Why should you care? Because 85% of the price tag is paid for with federal money, your tax dollars.
According to the Federal Highway Administration, the cost was about $14.8 billion. So here's the real question. How can one country replace a major urban bridge in a single weekend, while another can spend decades trying to rebuild a highway corridor? Is China using some kind of secret engineering magic? Did America simply forget how to build? Or is the real answer buried much deeper, inside the way each system makes decisions, handles risk, and defines what success even means? Because this story is not really about concrete, it is about power. It is about process. And it is about why one country can build as if it were running an assembly line, while the other often feels trapped negotiating with itself.
The problem, and they fix it. They build a dam. We debate what to rename it. That's why their airports look like this, and ours look like this. In San Francisco, it took 10 years just to get 2 bus lines through environmental review. The Big Dig, a tunnel in Boston, took 16 years. China once put up a 57-story skyscraper in 19 days. They demolished and rebuilt the Sanyuan Bridge in Beijing in 43 hours. We binge watch, they binge build. When COVID hit Wuhan, the city built a quarantine center with 4,000 rooms in 10 days, and they barely had to use it because they quickly arrested the spread of the disease. They were back to throwing raves in swimming pools while we were stuck at home surfing the dark web for black market Charmin. We're not losing to China. We lost.
Before we go any further, let's kill one lazy argument right now. This is not because Americans can't build. America used to build with astonishing speed. The Empire State Building went up in just 410 days, about 13 months, during one of the hardest economic periods in modern history. So the problem is not national intelligence. It is not a lack of engineering talent. It is not even a lack of ambition. The United States still has world-class engineers, world-class universities, world-class contractors, and some of the deepest capital markets on Earth. What changed is the system around them. Today, when Americans look at a video like the Sanyuan Bridge replacement, the first reaction is often disbelief. The second is envy. And the third is the most revealing. Why can't we do that? That question stings because Americans know what their country once built. Hoover Dam, the interstate highway system, the Golden Gate Bridge, the Empire State Building, and the Apollo program. So when modern America struggles to finish rail lines, tunnels, bridges, and transit upgrades on time and on budget, it doesn't feel like normal delay. It feels like decline. And that is exactly why this comparison gets so much attention online. Not because it is China versus America in some abstract geopolitical sense, but because it forces Americans to confront something personal. How did the country that once built the impossible become the country that takes forever to approve it. China's advantage begins with one simple shift in mindset. It treats construction less like a one-off craft project and more like industrial manufacturing. Look again at that Beijing bridge replacement. The logic was not to show up on site and improvise. The logic was to do as much work as possible before the shutdown even began. Fabricate, test, transport, stage, and then execute the swap in an extremely compressed window. In other words, the time you see on camera is only the final move in a much longer, tightly coordinated sequence. That sounds obvious, but it changes everything. Because once you think that way, a bridge is no longer just a bridge. It becomes a supply chain problem, a logistics problem, a standardization problem, a machinery problem, a sequencing problem. And China has spent years building an ecosystem that supports exactly that style of delivery. At the end of 2024, China's operating high-speed rail network had reached 48,000 kilometers, making it by far the largest in the world. That scale matters because scale creates repetition. Repetition creates standardization, and standardization creates speed. When you build at that scale, you don't just train engineers, you train entire industries. You develop specialized transporters, launchers, cranes, fabrication yards, survey systems, crews, suppliers, and routines that can move from project to project. Sanyuan Bridge was not fast because of one brilliant team. It was fast because an entire industrial system made those 43 hours possible. One industry report on Sanyuan Bridge notes that Chinese-made carriers were used to move the new bridge into place, supported by Beidou, video, and infrared positioning systems for high-precision placement. And then there is the decision structure. In China, once a project reaches a high enough level of political priority, financing, land, engineering standards, and contractors can often be aligned much faster than in fragmented democracies. That does not mean mistakes are impossible. It does mean that once the machine is pointed in one direction, there are fewer veto points along the way. That is why Chinese infrastructure can sometimes look less like construction and more like a coordinated military maneuver. Not because the workers are superhuman, but because the system is built to compress uncertainty. Now let's cross the Pacific. Don't forget, they once built the Empire State Building in 1 year and 45 days. Hoover Dam and the Golden Gate Bridge were once shining symbols of American confidence.
There were 800,000 people that made it onto the bridge. Quite a lot.
This bridge plays an indispensable role in the safe movement of countless people and goods across this region.
But today, why does infrastructure in the United States so often feel stuck? The easy answer is bureaucracy. The deeper answer is that America has built a system in which almost every major project has to fight its way through layer after layer of review, negotiation, litigation risk, fragmented authority, and shifting funding. Take NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act. Before construction can begin, project planners often have to assess the impact on local wildlife, protected habitats, and historic natural features. In practice, that can mean years of hearings, reviews, and courtroom battles. Now, to be fair, this law is often blamed for delays, but its original intent was not irrational. NEPA is procedural. It is designed to force federal agencies to consider environmental consequences and inform the public before decisions are made. It does not require any specific outcome. It does not say yes, and it does not say no. It says document, analyze, consult, disclose. That sounds reasonable until you look at the scale. CEQ has noted that for Federal Highway Administration environmental impact statements, the average final EIS length was 742 pages, and the average review time was 7.37 years. 7.37 years before we are even talking about actual full-speed construction. And NEPA is only one layer. Then comes land acquisition, utility relocation, interagency coordination, local opposition, state politics, federal politics, contract packaging, procurement fights, funding gaps, and lawsuits. Always lawsuits. Take land acquisition alone. In China, acquiring land for the public interest tends to move relatively smoothly. In the United States, by contrast, if a landowner refuses to let a railway cross his property, the legal battle can drag on for years. Even California high-speed rail, America's most symbolic modern rail project, now says outright that the lack of stable, long-term funding and a stop-and-go approach have cost time and money. The authority also says that avoiding costly delays means completing complicated right-of-way acquisitions and utility relocations before major construction begins. That line is incredibly revealing because it captures the American problem in one line. The engineering challenge itself is often not what kills momentum. What kills momentum is the sequencing, the approvals, and the fragmented delivery model. So when Americans ask, why can China build so fast? The more uncomfortable mirror question may be this: how many separate chances does America give itself to slow down? Still, we have to look at this rationally. Both models come with their own strengths and weaknesses. The Chinese model prioritizes rapid development. It can quickly stimulate the economy and transform the face of a city, but it has also brought heavy debt pressure and, at times, overlooked individual concerns. The American model, by contrast, is built around procedural justice. It places a very high value on private property rights and procedural transparency, but the cost is expensive coordination, endless communication, and public infrastructure that grows older and, in some cases, dangerously close to collapse. Many viewers in the comments ask the same question: is there a middle ground? Can you have China's speed and America's process at the same time? The reality is that efficiency and checks and balances are often two ends of the same scale, and that brings us back to Boston. The Big Dig is often treated as a punchline, and yes, in some ways it earned that reputation. Massive delays, massive overruns, endless public frustration. But the Big Dig was not a silly project. It was a brutally hard one. It replaced a deteriorating elevated highway with an underground expressway beneath the existing road, extended I-90 to the airport, added major tunnels, created a new river crossing, and reconnected downtown Boston to the waterfront. FHWA still describes it as one of the largest and most challenging highway projects in U.S. history.
The bridges and highways we fail to repair today will have to be rebuilt tomorrow, at many times the cost.
Our roads, our bridges, our schools.
It is also time to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure.
America, this is how we truly build back better.
So this is where the conversation needs to grow up. America's problem is not that it only attempts easy things and somehow still fails. Often, it attempts extremely difficult things, but inside a governance model that multiplies cost, time, and conflict. That is what makes the comparison with China so powerful. China can look ruthless, centralized, and astonishingly efficient. America can look transparent, deliberative, and maddeningly slow. But those are not just engineering styles. They are political philosophies made visible in concrete and steel. One system reduces friction by concentrating authority. The other system creates friction on purpose because it does not fully trust concentrated authority. That is why American infrastructure is so hard to fix with one policy tweak. The slowness is not a bug sitting on top of the system. The slowness is partly the system itself. Now here is the part where most videos become simplistic. China fast, America slow. China efficient, America broken. Case closed. But real life is not that clean. China's model can deliver speed that democracies struggle to match. That speed can transform regions, connect cities, expand industry, and change daily life with incredible force. You do not build the world's largest high-speed rail network by accident. At the same time, high-speed delivery can put enormous pressure on debt, local government finances, and communities whose objections may never meaningfully slow a project down. Speed is not free. It depends on a certain concentration of state capacity and a willingness to subordinate some conflict in order to keep moving. America makes the opposite bargain. It tolerates delay because delay is often the byproduct of consultation, property protection, environmental scrutiny, public challenge, and institutional mistrust of concentrated power. NEPA itself makes that logic explicit. It is about informed decision-making, not dictating a particular result. That sounds noble, and sometimes it is, but the cost is visible everywhere in America's aging transit systems, deferred maintenance, expensive upgrades, and lost public confidence. When a society becomes so procedurally dense that it cannot renew itself at a reasonable speed, people stop seeing oversight as protection. They start seeing it as paralysis itself. That is the real danger for the United States. Not that China looks impressive, but that Americans increasingly look at their own system and ask whether it can still do big things at all. So no, this story is not about Chinese engineers being magicians, and it is not about Americans being lazy. It is about two different civilizations solving the same problem in two radically different ways. One says, move first, align the system, and solve the friction as you go. The other says, review first, distribute the power, and accept that friction is part of legitimacy. And maybe that is the deepest truth here. Infrastructure is never just infrastructure. A bridge reveals how a country makes decisions. A tunnel reveals what a country fears. A rail line reveals whether a state can still coordinate itself toward the future. China replaced one of Beijing's busiest bridges in 43 hours. Boston's Big Dig took 25 years from conception to completion and cost roughly $14.8 billion. Those are not just two project timelines. They are two models of modern governance, exposed in public for the whole world to judge. Future infrastructure competition will no longer simply be about whose cranes are bigger or whose concrete is stronger. The real competition lies in who can repair their own systemic flaws first. China is shifting from quantity to quality, while the United States is also trying to streamline procedures through legal reform. So here's my question for you. If you were the decision maker, would you choose to sacrifice some speed in order to ensure absolute procedural transparency? Or would you rather endure controversy as long as the city could be completely renewed within 10 years? Leave your thoughts in the comments because this discussion is no longer just about China. At its core, it comes down to one question. Can the United States still build its own future? See you in the next video.